Hello and welcome to Shop Talk with Dan the Man. Today's video, you're in for a treat. We're going to review this bad boy, the Gen 5X Cordless Ridgid Belt Sander. Stay tuned to find out more. Hello, if you're new to this channel, my name is Dan Shannon. I enjoy woodworking as a hobby and being out in the shop. On this channel, dive deep into my shop as we explore tools and tool reviews, as well as chatting about everything related to woodworking. If this grabs you by the tool belt, please subscribe to my channel if you want more videos like this. So today's video, we're going to review this cordless belt sander, model number R86065. This is an 18-volt Ridgid cordless belt sander. And what's great about this product is exactly that. There's no cords. So let's dive in, let's check out some of the features. So some of the features on this belt sander are pretty nice. We'll go to the trigger first. So you're going to see you got your standard trigger that you turn on, but also if you go on the back side, you notice there's this little button. So say you're doing a project like a tabletop and you need this belt sander to stay active and running the entire time. Pull the trigger in, push the button in, and it keeps the entire unit on the whole time. And when you're done, you just click on the trigger again, it releases, and the machine turns off. That's a great feature. I really enjoy that one. Also, right beside the trigger is the adjustment speed knob. So that gives you your variable speeds, but depending on what you're sanding, you're able to adjust your speed accordingly. So a project that requires, say, a little bit less speed, you don't want to burn the wood, or if you're doing, say, pine boards and you're getting close to the edge, you don't want to gouge it out as much, you can adjust your speed so the belt sander doesn't get carried away and run off on you. So what a great job Ridgid did having that speed adjustment. So I'll give you a little preview of that. So in order to do that, we need to put the battery pack on. So when it comes to the battery packs, I got a 2 amp hour here. I also have a 6 amp hour. So depending on the project you're working on or the overall weight of this, you might want to have a smaller battery. It gives you the same performance. So basically, if you use a small battery, it gives you a little less weight when you're moving this unit. So let's just put the smaller battery pack on. And this is your standard port for any battery pack that Ridgid makes. You just slide it here until it clips. Standard Ridgid battery clip system. So that's on all their cordless tools. All right, so we'll tip it down and we'll test out the variable speed. So just hold in the trigger and then you turn your dial. So that's the max speed, and you could tell obviously the motor was winding up as it increased speed, and you could see the belt, of course, go faster. So yeah, that's a look at the variable speed feature. Remove the battery, and we'll go to the bottom part. So you notice here, you got your belt, of course, and then there's this metal bracket. So a lot of times you have your sandpaper. Over time, it needs to be replaced. So there's a quick release system. You just pull that to the left, and then your belt is easily removed. So you just slide it up from either roller on either end. You just slide it up, and that's it. There's your belt. So You can get replacement ones. It's good to note. This one here is an 80 grit. So you get all the way up to like 320, whatever you want for sandpaper. So depending on the project you're working on, you start with a rough grit, and then you work your way up to a fine grit, you know, depending on the project that, of course, you're working on. So say, for example, if you're taking paint off a dresser, you'd want rough grit to remove that rough finish, and then, of course, once you get down to the real wood, you'd switch it over to like a 320. So easy to reinstall. You just take your belt. There's also arrows on the inside. I don't know if you can see that tell you the direction of the belt, and there's actually an arrow here on the end. So it's very straightforward to reinstall. Just look at your arrows. In this case, they're going this way, so we got to slide it on this way over top. So when you slide it down, just line it up to the top of the roller and to the other roller top. And then once that's in position, just take your lever, bring it back down, clip it in. Very straightforward. So since we're talking about the belt, let's go to the adjustment knob. So there's an adjustment knob here at the bottom that moves the belt. So if it's not quite centered on the two wheels, you can move the adjustment knob to give you that centering. So we'll show you that now. So let's reinstall the battery again. And you want to pull your trigger to apply power. And then as you can see right there, it moved the belt back and forth. This adjustment knob. So that's very important. You don't want to wear your belt on different on one side versus the other side. You want it to have a good wear. Also, when you put it flat, if it's not the right spot, it can cause a little bit of rocking adjustment. So when you're sanding, it might shave down a little bit more on the board on one side than the other based on the weight of the overall machine itself. So that's one thing to note. We'll remove the battery pack again. All right, so we go around the front. You'll notice there's this grip piece. So a lot of projects, especially with belt sanders, they're very aggressive tools for sanding. If you want to get a lot of product off the top of your project, this is the perfect way to do it. But you also need a front guide so you can keep your project nice and smooth. Also, if you have to put a little lean into it to get that extra product off, I don't recommend you lean too much into it. Let the tool do the work itself. You might want to change out your sandpaper if you're finding you're not getting enough off at a time. But you can adjust this. It's very easy. There's an Allen key bolt here, and then of course Ridgid puts their adjustment tools right on the tool itself. So this is an Allen key. It just pulls out, and then you adjust this. It has a track, so you just slide it up and down to get to the right spot for your perfect adjustments. To say you'd like it lower or higher. It all depends on how it feels for you individually. But I really like how Ridgid does that. They leave the tool on this tool to make your adjustments. So any adjustment tools. So we're on the back side here. So that's it pretty much for the front. So we're on the back side. You'll notice here we got that adjustment screw, like I said, for the belt. So that's on the bottom. And then here is a belt system. So primarily you don't have to touch that ever unless you're finding a performance with the belt, it's slipping, or there's something going on where the motor's running but the belt's not doing what it's supposed to. It means your belt has stretched over time and it needs to be replaced. So you can approach that when there's in the user's manual, they'll give you a reference as to how to go about that. But from there, you'll notice we got a dust collection bag. So this works really well. I find if you let it go more than halfway, you run into performance issues. Your dust will go up into it And then once it fills up to a certain point, it seems to lay on your project more. It doesn't seem to collect as well. So you probably want to change it around halfway, and it just unscrews, or untwists rather, very straightforward. And then you dump it out. And then once you're done that, there is a zipper on the back, so you don't have to dump it just with this opening. There's a zipper here. You can just bring the zipper down and, of course, dispose of the sawdust. All right, so we'll just twist it back on, and that's that. And I already went over the back battery connector, so that's pretty straightforward if you've owned any Ridgid tools. And so let's dive into some performance and hands-on experience. So stay tuned for that. All right, so here's our hands-on to see how this performs. So I got a board here. You can tell it's milled, so it's very rough. And we're going to see what this belt sander can do with this board. So you're going to want to start off maybe with a slower speed just to see how it feels on the board, and then of course adjust your dial to give you your better speed. But if you look in your manual, it will say there's different letters on this wheel. There's F, E, D, C, B, and A. So what they recommend is, depending on what type of wood you're doing, you would use A, B, C right through till F. So I would recommend checking that out before you just use any old speed. And I think it has to do with whether or not it will burn the wood or cause more tear out, depending on your project. Or you can just take your time and see what works best. So let's turn that on now and have a go. All right, so let's have a look at what progress we're getting into. So you can see there, this side where I use the belt sander, and then you can see the side that hasn't been touched. So it's very obvious what this machine's capable of. It does a very good job. Like I said, this is an 80 grit, so you're getting lots of eating away at the wood. Whereas if you had a softer grit on here, it wouldn't take off as much. Once you get it down like to that level, you could swap out your belt to a higher grit that's finer, just to soften that up, give it a nice feel. But I'm pretty impressed with the results, as you can see right there, between the rough original and the part that was sanded. So yeah, that's perfect. So here's my final thoughts on this tool. It's a great tool, hands down. It should be in everyone's shop for any projects that they're working on. It takes a lot of the elbow grease, more or less, out of your project for sanding. It also, since it's a Ridgid, comes with their LSA service agreement. You have 90 days to register. Not only is the tool covered for life, but the battery as well. So you can't beat that, right? Right. So, thanks for watching this video. Like, subscribe, give me a thumbs up. If you have any comments, leave them below about this product. Maybe you'd like to purchase it or find out any more information on this tool. And we'll see you on the next one.